Monday, everyone from The Good Doctors. This is Monday, June 29th, and our Good Doctors diagnosed today. We don't know where June went. Time is just a construct of malleability right now.
It is both every day the same, and yet we progress through the months. So
I swear it was 45 years ago that I saw you, but it was just February. But just.
And it
February.
was the end of February too.
Yeah, it was and yet.
And yet I
have aged.
Yes, we have all aged. COVID has aged all of us.
All of us.
Yeah.
And speaking of COVID, one of the things we wanted to talk about today is that essentially it's okay to change your mind. Yeah. It's okay to say, you know what, different data, we have to figure things out. And one of the things I particularly appreciated as a business owner in the beginning of COVID is that everything was happening so quickly that everybody had to change their mind all the time.
Yeah.
There was no judgment. There was no, you screwed this up on Monday. Okay, well, it's not a screw up if you're judging Monday by Wednesday's information. It's just new information.
Yeah, and we saw that a lot with when trying to figure out how the virus spreads and what's safe and what's not safe. And, we've seen some negative fallback from that because, in February they said we didn't need to wear masks. And now we know that masks make a big, big difference. And you've seen people waver on that. But hopefully we're hopeful that a lot of this movement around changing minds and, using data to help figure out what's going on will bleed into other areas. And we've seen some evidence of that recently as well.
In the terms specifically of the massive social uprising, movement, agitation, whatever word you want to use on it, specifically around institutional racism within the United States, we all need to normalize changing our minds. Mm-hmm. We all need to get really comfortable with, no, I was wrong. Let me walk that back.
I hadn't considered that perspective or that history before, or I didn't know that perspective or history. Cool. I can change my mind on this.
At the same time, we need to normalize giving space for people to change their minds.
That's the tricky one.
And that there's lots of emotions, and we'll get into it a little bit later as people keep going back to work here in Philadelphia. We finally entered green phase, and so more and more people are going to be in physical proximity with each other. But there are lots of elements of this idea of changing your mind. And we would like to highlight this particular GDD, the City of Philadelphia Police Department, actually. Police departments, one of the cruxes of the current uprising is that police departments are not known for changing their minds.
No.
And they are not known for considering other opinions.
No.
And they are not known for public apologies.
Absolutely not.
And yet, in the last, I would say 3 weeks, we've begun to see, especially some police chiefs, although we know that part of the problem is that the chiefs of police tend to be more progressive than rank and file, but that's a separate conversation. During the kind of the beginning of the protests in Philadelphia, a group of peaceful protesters, completely unarmed, were marching down a particular highway in Philadelphia, and despite the fact that it is against the regulations of the Philadelphia police to do so, the Philadelphia police tear gassed the protesters. This was particularly angered people in Philly because and I say we because I'm a member of the we of Philadelphia. We had been told repeatedly that the police were taking these things seriously, that the new police chief, in fact, was a young-ish, by terms of chief, I believe she's in her 40s, Black woman who specifically wanted to talk about bringing equity into policing, and it seemed to be a new hope. And then, the Black police chief allowed tear gassing the protesters for Black Lives Matter, and it all just felt a little bit weird. And then this week, in fact, last week, we're recording this, inside baseball, we're recording this before Monday. So last week, as you're listening to this, Mayor Kenney and the chief, whose name is escaping me right now, I am so sorry. I had it and it's gone. They publicly apologized. for the decision that was made, acknowledging that while it was against regulations, there's a loophole in regulations, they're going to tighten those. The person who made the call has volunteered to take a demotion. We can have a conversation if that's enough, but still something more than has been done in the past. Yeah. Another individual involved has been suspended pending termination, with a move towards termination. And again, while this is for a lot of people not going to be enough, this is still a massive shift from prior behavior. Yeah. And as we normalize changing our minds, and as we normalize listening to other voices, we also need to get comfortable with some of these baby steps. Now, cosmetic apologies are still not okay. Standing up and saying like, oh, I just feel really bad without any actions or anything else is still something we can be frustrated by. But this one came with actions and appearing to be genuine repentance and a plan for how to make it not happen in the future. Yeah. And those are pretty clear indices that there is a change of path here. And that's what we're all looking for.
And it's one of those things, right, that's difficult to conceptualize what systemic change looks like, especially if you are new to the conversation that this is a systemic problem or what systems look like, particularly institutionalized racism, systemic racism. And it's going to be it has to be changing everything.
Correct.
To change the system. So it is everything that upholds it, everything that it operates based on. And so a lot of it is changing behaviors and changing perspectives. And that's what we're seeing that is an indicator that we might be starting to work on some systemic changes. So it's a way to look at it that, no, it's not enough for what we're asking for, but it might be an indicator, as long as the action is followed through, that we're looking at ways we can make these systematic changes by changing the way we behave, even if we make a mistake, recognizing, and as Dr. Kristen said, for a long, long time, we have not even seen the recognition of fault from police officers or police chiefs or police unions. And so anytime we see these little chips at the system, that's a positive indicator that we're working towards lasting change.
And so in terms of being a business owner, we all know that we make mistakes all the time. I don't know, it's only the truly, truly egotistical person who thinks that all of their decisions are perfect. Most business owners and leaders that I've spoken to can list you their favorite mistakes off the top of their head.
The ones they learn the most from.
But what we might not be as good at is communicating that in the moment to our team. We may not be as good at apologizing to people who point things out to us, point flaws in our plan out to us. We may not have created a culture within the organization that mistakes are celebrated, because mistakes give us an opportunity to grow. Mistakes are just a chance to change your mind. Mistakes are a chance to see something different. And so even as a leader, we need to normalize changing our mind.
Yeah.
And that is something I think we might be a little bit further in terms of some business practices, but I have a feeling in terms of personal practice and empathy and personal relationships, we're still struggling with that. In these times, as we've been saying, that's a capital T on both words, you're going to make mistakes. You are absolutely going to offend somebody. You are going to screw this up. Whatever this is, you're going to screw it up. The world is different than it was on March 1st and will be forever now. And so we would encourage you, as we have before, to get very used to saying, new perspective. Let me think about that. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, that is the hugest kind of indicator of your own work on building empathy, as well as being able to take that time, take a step back and say, wait a second, maybe I need to rethink this. Maybe I don't have enough information. So we've seen a lot of people right now about a lot of different topics going on in the country, seeking out more information. I don't know enough about this. I'm realizing this is a gap in my knowledge. That just doesn't have to be about racial history in America. That can be about, corporate hiring policies. And
it can be about the kind of paper towels you're buying. We all never have enough information.
Yeah.
You can always get more.
And that's a real important step to being a more empathetic leader and manager, is just recognizing that you might not have the information that you need, that led you to possibly make a mistake, and owning that is one of the first steps of many.
And it's one of the ones you'll make because we make it, and everybody who we respect makes it all the time. So that's what we've got for you on this super lighthearted Good Doctors Diagnose on Monday, June 29th. And we will see you in July. Bye.
Bye.